What's going on, guys? This video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be geared toward my Jeep Renegade people. 1.4 liter 6-speed manually specific and manually specific, whatever. We're just going to run it. And last time I did this, we swapped the clutch in my Jeep, and it was a huge pain in the butt. But it seemed to help a lot of people. It's got almost 10,000 views, so I want to do another one, specifically this time, as you can see by the title, the Alternator. Now, this isn't going to be a direct how-to, step-by-step. This has just physically beat me up. It's a pain in the butt. And honestly, I'm just going to do my best to explain it. I'm going to try to take some videos as I put it back together and splice them into this video to kind of show you guys more detail on what I'm talking about. But this was a huge pain in the ass. Hopefully we're past the point where YouTube won't demonetize me for cussing, because holy shit, this sucked. I would honestly say this took, I'm not even finished yet. I still have to pull the alternator. I'm waiting for it to come in and then put it all back together. I had to pull the AC compressor, so now I'm gonna have to go get AC gauges and a vacuum pump. I'm gonna have to get, compressor oil and Freon and do all that stuff, which I've never done before, but it looks pretty easy. The point of this is it ended up being a little bit more expensive than just an alternator and a serpentine belt. So I'm going to kind of show you guys why it was such a pain. All you 2.4 liter, the Tiger Shark guys are lucky, very lucky. It looks like the motor is completely swapped around, so my alternator in the 1.4 is deep down into the passenger side by the firewall, where yours is, I believe, still on the passenger side, but up in the front towards the radiator and up on top, so it's actually a lot easier to get to. The 1.4, nope. They almost want you to pull the motor, or if you have a lift, you could go up under, pull the basically the whole front drivetrain, the suspension, the lower control arms, the axles, and then completely unbolt the whole K-member and just drop the whole front end down, and then you might be able to get your hands up under there. But yeah, so anyways, enough mumbling and talking. Let's go ahead and kind of show you what I took apart and how we got to this alternator. Finally broke it free last night, so let's flip the camera around and show you guys what I got sitting on the floor. Alright guys, so I mean, it's not a lot, it's just very, very hard to get to. I mean, I'm not exactly skinny, but I'm pretty skinny, 5'9", I can get my hands in and reach around, and normally this kind of stuff is very easy. When you say I'm gonna replace the alternator in my car, you're like, oh well, anyone can do that. Well, this thing right here is going to make you miss your old Honda Civic or whatever else you had in the 90s. It is absolutely ridiculous how they engineered this thing. So anyways, I went ahead, I took off some evap lines that were in the way. Again, I'm going to try to show you guys where all this stuff belongs as I'm putting it back together. And so of course we got our cover here. If you haven't pulled the cover off yet, it's just a bolt right here, a bolt right here, and then on the back side it kind of like pushes in right there, so you can just undo those two bolts, pop it right off. These evaps, you just got a couple clips that you pop off, and then they got some buttons on the side here. You just press those in, pull out. Very, very easy. Let me back out here. Let's see, so of course we got the belt. I'll show you guys how to pop the belt off here in a second. This is just like a little, almost like a guide, or not a guide, like a shield that goes over the AC compressor. Again, I'll try to show you guys where all this stuff goes. And then of course we got the compressor itself, 3 bolts. This one wasn't too bad, but it was still a pain in the butt because this bolt back here is blind, and it's, like I said, it's just such a tight space. You're literally inches away from the firewall and trying to get wrenches and stuff in there. So yeah, that's about it as far as the parts I have laying right here. Let's go ahead and head over to the Jeep. Sorry, it's a little bright, might burn myself. So as you can see, we got the alternator down here. Zoom in on it, and we are broken free. Now if you can see where it mounts up right there, obviously it's a couple inches away from the holes right there. The actual head of the bolt is on the right side, so it's not just a bolt that is facing the the passenger wheel. You actually have to get over way back there to get the bolt from the outside, and then there's another one underneath that's actually a lot harder to get to. So yeah, this thing is just a huge pain in the butt. And even still, I'm gonna have to fish this thing up and out of here. Now the AC sits up on top right here, about right where my finger is, and I unbolted it and was able to move it around a little bit, but just not enough to where I could get to that top bolt. So unfortunately I had to purge the AC and pull that thing out. Now let's go up underneath here. As you can see, I did take off the tub, which is actually very easy. There's a screw right here, and then there's a couple of plastic nuts. There's one here, one here. Go to this side, we got one here, one here. There's a screw on the underside right here, and then another couple screws here and here, and then you can basically just pop it right on out. Obviously I have the wheel off, and then nothing else over here has been touched. I'm honestly assuming if you do it the way I did it, you probably don't even need to take the wheel tub off, because I don't even think I stuck my hands through here, because you really just can't get to it. So let's go ahead and start with the top of the engine. First thing I did was, like I said, pulled off the cover. You got a bolt here, another bolt, where is it? Right here, and then it just pops right off. Now you can see we have our evap right here, and basically I just popped the line off this side right here, and then this just runs across, and then you got all these clips right here. You just kind of pull on the inside one and then pop the outside one out. I did that for both lines on the evap going to the air box here, just to get them out of the way. These two lines right here, I believe, are the fuel return and fuel input, whatever you call them. And definitely not going to mess with those. Those are out of the way enough, so we left those alone. But as you can see, we have our high pressure AC line right here, and the low pressure is way down there. Or sorry, this is low pressure. High pressure is down below. Now once I got all the hoses out of the way, we got the cover off, I'm sitting up, knee on the engine, knee over here, I'm crouched up over here. Next thing we needed to do was pull the AC. So after I got done purging it, you guys have to figure that one out for yourself. Basically there was the 3 bolts that I showed you. Again, I'll try to come up with some video to show you where the AC sits, but it sits right under here. Now there's going to be 2 bolts in the front, on top and on the bottom, and then there's going to be one on the back on the bottom side of the AC. You're going to need to pull those 3, and then there's going to be 2 clips, 2 small little wiring harness clips, so you just got to pop those 2 off, and then you're going to have your high pressure and low pressure lines, and those are going to be, I believe, 5mm Allen bolts. They're not even Allen bolts, they're star bolts, Torx, something like that, but I stuck a 5mm Allen in there and it popped off fine, didn't strip out, as you can see, worked good. And then got those lines off. Be careful with the seals, try not to pry on them, or just pop them out. And then from there, once you're unclipped and unhooked from your lines, focus, you can pull the AC out. Now I do want to mention, let's see if I can get in here, there we go. As you can see, this bundle of wires right here, and then there's this metal bracket right there. On that bottom backside bolt of the air compressor, or the AC compressor, basically you're gonna have that little metal bracket right there that goes in with the hole. Basically the bolt goes through, oh goodness, back out real quick. basically one of the bolts goes through the bracket and then the bolt goes through the AC compressor. So once you pop that bolt out, you can kind of move that bracket out of the way and get those wires out of the way as well. Sorry, the lighting sucks. Now that you have the AC compressor out of the way, we're going to move on to the alternator. So again, like I said, there's going to be 2 bolts on the alternator, one up top here as you can see, and again the bolt head is going to be on the far side, and there's going to be one on the bottom. Now the bottom one is a huge pain. There's absolutely no way to get to it. So what I ended up having to do is I got my big dog 1/2-inch impact right here, and then I must have had, I think this is only a little bit of it, this might be it, but I have about, I don't know, 24 to 30 inches of extension, 1/2-inch extension, and a 1/2-inch swivel head. Basically I had to go up about midway up the back of the K-member, up and over, and then snaked it on through. And with the swivel head, I had a 18mm deep socket as well. It doesn't need to be a deep socket, just some sort of impact socket. I just happen to have an 18mm. So yeah, let me go ahead and try to get under the car and show you where it went. Alright guys, now we are under the car just to get you oriented. Here is the front. Got your radiator, of course, up right over there. Turbo, exhaust, oil pan, and then we go back. Here we have the K-member that runs across and ties in your suspension. Then we got the PTU, power transfer unit, and the solenoid that opens it up. Now, let's see if I can get you guys in there. Come on, focus up in there. But that little dark spot right there, you can see the hole shining through right there. That is going to be your bottom bolt for your alternator, and this thing is insanely hard to get to. I mean, if we look right here, there's no room to get your hand up in between the axle and the solenoid for the PTU unit. You have this huge K-member right here. You can't just snake your arms through. I mean, look at my arms right now. They're just so beat up and scratched from trying to fish through there. So it was a huge pain in the butt. So what I ended up doing is I took my long extension, and then I had my deep socket, whatever socket you guys have, and I went ahead, put this all together. I'm not gonna throw the socket on right now. And then what I did was from the K-member back to where the exhaust pops out. Oh, let's see if I can get in here. I went up and over through this hole, straight across over the top of this, right through here, up and over that, and then was able to kind of stick my hand in there to guide the bolt. While holding up that big ass impact over here, I was able to unscrew it. Now these bolts for the alternator are extremely tight. You're gonna need something nasty with a lot of foot-pounds, so just keep that in mind. You know, I was able to get a screwdriver, a box end wrench on it, but there's just absolutely no way to like get your hand up in there and exert enough strength to push the wrench up and loosen that bolt out. So again, that's why I had to use the extensions. I'm going to go ahead and try to put the extension through just to kind of show you guys how it's routed a little bit better. It's super hard being down under here. I'm limited on room, and it's hard to get a good camera angle. Alright, here we go. So my apologies. It wasn't on this side of the exhaust. It was down the center of the K-member, going up and over. It's hard to see, but we're over the steering rack, and we are also over the sway bar. I swear, there's always a plane flying overhead when I'm trying to explain something. Anyways, so you can see where the tip of my thumb is right here. That is your sway bar right there, and then right here is your steering rack. So we went up and over, and then as you can see, we're up and over the solenoid for the PTU unit. And then you just kind of got to fish your hand over to the swivel and the socket and get to that bolt head. I know it's hard to see. I can't really get a good angle. of course, that thing comes falling out. But you'll get the point. I mean, if you guys are watching this and attempting to do it yourself, I'm sure you have enough confidence in yourself to do this. It's a pain in the butt. Be patient. Take your time. Try not to throw too much. Try not to cuss too much. You'll get it. Like I said, I'm almost there. All I have to do now is kind of pivot the alternator so I can get to the backside and unscrew the battery leads, all that good stuff on it. Yeah, guys, so let me go ahead. I'm gonna need to pop this out, and then we'll take a look at the new one. We'll put it back in, and then reverse order, basically. I'll put it all together and I'll try to record it as we go so I can get you guys little clips, a little bit better visuals of what needs to come off. All right, guys, so the alternator is out. Holy crap, what a pain in the ass. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's definitely crunchy. And we got the new one in, feeling nice and smooth. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys how I put all this stuff back together. Like I said, I'll try to splice in some material for you guys to see how I took it apart as I'm putting it together. Like I said, this isn't going to be a very detailed how-to, but hopefully you guys get an idea of what needs to be done to get this thing out of your 1.4 liter Jeep Renegade. Pain in the butt. Or just trade this thing in ASAP. I'm just messing around. But yeah, and then of course, I did have to pull the AC. So I went and got some PAG 46 oil and some 1234YF or whatever refrigerant, and then hopefully I'll have a buddy with some gauges and a a vacuum pump. That way I can get the AC back up and running. But yeah, so let's go ahead. We're going to start by putting this thing back together. In the last clip, I believe I was showing you how I had to run like 30 inches of extension with the swivel head on a 18 millimeter deep socket. So yeah, basically we're going to be putting this in there and then running that bottom bolt through, and then doing the same thing to get this back on, running my extensions with the swivel. The top isn't too bad. You just got to reach down up in here to get to it. So we're going to go down into there, kind of push everything up out of the way, and worm it through here, get it down in there, and then from there basically, well, of course, before we mount the alternator, we gotta put the positive and negative leads back on, and then yeah, and then basically we just gotta put the AC compressor back on. I'm gonna try to fill it with the PAG fluid before I put the lines back together, and yeah, just basically put everything back together from there. All right, guys, so as you can see, I have the new alternator fish down in here, and kind of have it on its side. That way I could easily run some extensions with my Milwaukee down in there so I can get them nice and snug. Now the red is a 13 millimeter or half inch, and the black is a 8 millimeter. All right, so now that I got that done, I'm gonna go ahead and flip this on the right orientation. We'll get the bottom mounted with the bolts and the top as well, and then from there we'll go ahead, work our way up back to the AC compressor. All right, guys, we got the alternator up. I still got to tighten the top bolt, I forgot about that, but the alternator is in. That was actually pretty easy. And like I said, loosening this thing, let's see if we can get a good look. Right there's the bolt for the bottom of the alternator. Trying to loosen it through here is impossible. Even getting a wrench in there just bangs up against the firewall. You can't even get any clicks in. But I was able to reach my hand back here and thread it on. And then of course I went and took my impact in my 30 freaking inches of extensions, impacted the bottom back in. Got to get the top real quick, but I mean it's already done. So next thing I'm going to do is install the AC compressor. Now that's just 3 bolts. It's going to be 2 in the front here and then 1 in the back towards the bottom of the AC compressor. So it is a little bit blind. And then of course, let's get down in here. So you can see that metal bracket directly in the center of the screen with the little hole right there. that holds a lot of this wiring harness. That is also going to go through that backside bottom bolt. I'll show you on the alternator itself. So if we are looking at it inside of the Jeep, it would sit like this. There's that bottom bolt. Normally it would be blind, so you kind of reach in back there. Reaching in back there like this. But the point is, you want to make sure you get that bracket, the bolt through the bracket, and then, like I said, put this through blind. You're gonna have to feel around for it. The bracket will kind of fall into place here, but just make sure you sandwich this bolt, that bracket, with this bolt and the compressor on the back side. Front is pretty simple, just one right here, one right here, and you can get to these with the ratcheting wrench pretty easy. All right guys, so I'm going to attempt to flip this over. Now it says 120 cc of PS-D1 or equivalent. I have some PAG 46. I'm going to be putting 120 cc, ends up being 4 ounces, so I'm going to pour 4 ounces in here, and then I'm going to try not to spill it and put the AC lines back on. Again, those were a 5mm Allen. Just be careful when you're putting them back in. Make sure your O-rings are still nice. Otherwise, you know, this stuff is expensive as far as the PAG oil and the refrigerant. So you don't want to be wasting nothing. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Your seal is good. Your O-ring seal is good. And then we should be dialed. And then of course we have our 2 plugs. So this one right here and this one right here. Should be pretty easy. All right guys, we have our AC compressor on. I filled this up with 4 ounces of PAG oil, and then just kind of had the holes sitting up, facing upwards. And then I was able to kind of tip it over, get the bottom line on the high pressure and the low pressure on afterwards. And then there are 2 plugs, of course. Yo, what's up, bud? So there's 2 plugs. There's going to be one on the front, you can see by my fingernail, and then one in the back right there. They got 2 different plugs, so you shouldn't be able to mix them up. All right, so we're going to go ahead and mount the 3 bolts. Don't forget the bracket in the back with all the wiring. Get that done, and we're pretty close to getting this thing back together. All right guys, we got our AC installed, all 3 bolts. We got our high pressure, low pressure lines in, and both of our connectors. And next thing up, we have this like little shroud deal that goes over the alternator. And basically, let's see if you can see down there, right in the middle of the screen, you got 2 bolt holes. 2 bolts right here, just goes right over that. And then of course you have this little clip right here and a little hole for another clip. And that is going to be for this harness plug right here. Obviously this will clip into the little hole, and then this it's kind of a pain in the ass. I'll show you guys after I get this hooked up. But basically you have to pull this up and slide this gray part over, and then it'll pull out. And then the opposite side of the plug I have tucked up over here, right there, and then we'll run that back through as well. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and knock this out, and we're getting pretty close. All right, it's kind of hard to show you guys, but as you can see here, there's these 2 little tabs right here. And then if you look on the inside of this connector, you can see those slots for the tabs as well. So get the connector started, line up these tabs just like so. And then basically just gonna push it all in and slide that back over just like so, and it'll kind of tighten it along with it. And then we're gonna push the little yellow tab on the back here all the way down, and we're good to go. So next up we have our evap lines. I was able to get these out of the way, and it made a big difference. Got rid of some of the lines over here, but basically they're hard plastic tubes, so you can't really mess it up. They only go one way. Got your 2 clips right here and here that go across, and then I kind of wiggled the little evap solenoid out of the way as well. Oops, focus. So we're gonna go ahead, pop that back up under the tab here, just like that. So I'll go ahead, slap those back on, and from there, I believe we put our belt back on, put our cover back on, and then we're gonna put the wheel well cover, or the wheel tub back on, slap the wheel back together. Obviously, even though I oiled the AC compressor, I still have to get some gauges on there. I have to vacuum the system for 30 minutes, and then I have to add 16 ounces of the R1234YF or whatever it's called, Freon. So AC is not going to be ready just yet. We're probably not going to do it in this video anyway, since this is about the alternator. And you guys can look up plenty of YouTube videos on how to recharge your AC. You just got to make sure that you completely empty the oil out of the compressor, and make sure you put 4 ounces of the PAG 46H in there. That way you have a oiled up compressor, otherwise that thing will blow. Alright, I'm going to throw these evap lines on and get the wheel tub back on, get everything back together, start this fucker back up, and hopefully it charges the damn battery while I was driving. Alright guys, sorry if the lighting is terrible, so let's start with the evap lines that I disconnected. So starting from here, this is, looks like the intake. Yep, right, the intake. So we go up, we slide underneath here, and then we have a clip right here. It's gonna follow through, and then this is like a little junction clip, so there's like 3, 4, 5 of them right here. Run straight across over and into the airbox. Then the second one is going to 90 out of the airbox, come down to the bottom of this little junction clip thingy, come down, got another black clip right here. It's gonna loop around and go right into this solenoid, the evap solenoid, whatever the hell this thing is. And that just kind of got some of this stuff out of the way. These two back here are fuel lines, so I didn't want to mess with those at all, get fuel everywhere. Other than that, I think we are done with the top. Like I said, of course, we got to do our AC, and we'll be doing that off camera. Like I said, you guys can look that up on YouTube. There's plenty of tutorials how to do that. But yeah, I believe we're done with the top, so all we got to do is put the cover back on. Of course, we got our 2 bolts that I showed you earlier in the video. Easy, easy. You should be able to figure that out. Then it kind of clips on this little ball thing right here. Yeah, and then we'll go ahead, throw the wheel tub on, and get our belt done. Actually, we'll get our belt on first, then we'll put our little cover back on, and we'll call it a day. Alright, so I'm going to try to show you guys this little trick that I did. So as you can see, I have a ratchet right here, and then I took a, this is what, a 7/8 wrench, box end wrench, and I just kind of looped it right there. And then the ratchet itself is on the tensioner right there. So I kind of just pried it up and then wedged it right here, and then I was able to get my belt on. So all I got to do is loosen it now, but I kind of just wanted to show you the orientation. So if you look, we have the alternator. It comes down from the air conditioner, around the alternator, up over the tensioner, back down around the balancer here, and then back up to the top of the AC. It's super bright up here, so it's hard to tell you or show you, but as you can kind of see, yeah guys, it's hard to get in here. But anyways, from the balancer all the way up over the AC, back down to the alternator, and then you get the point from there. So yeah, all I got to do now is pop that out just like so, and we have our belt on. Our AC is finally, our alternator is finally done. The heat and just the sheer amount of work put into an alternator has got me brain dead right now. But yeah guys, we are officially done. Car is on, and looks like we have good news, people. 14.8, she is charging. Man, this feels good to have it back. And for anybody who doesn't know the symptoms, basically, so you got your little vehicle info. If you press the down button, and then you can scroll over right here. So what I was seeing was a little battery blinking right here, and it would blink on and off depending on the RPMs. Eventually it got to the point where it didn't matter how many RPMs, the battery light would stay on. But you can scroll over to your battery voltage here, And you'll notice that when you have a good alternator, it charges it up to 14.8. It was not charging, so it was slowly going down to like 13.6 and then 12.4. Eventually your battery is going to die and leave you stranded. So if you see that, you know your alternator's about to go.